This is Gina Scanlon, Senior Editor of Customer Management IQ. I'm here at the first annual ICE conference in Miami. I'm joined now by Aaron Taylor, Senior Director of Customer Care for My Life. Thanks for joining us. Aaron, my first question is, in your keynote speech, you mentioned a great Beatles quote, "Money can't buy you love." So what can exactly buy you love in the customer service environment?
Well, Gina, thank you for the opportunity to be here today and answer some of these questions. I think that that quote is very at the foundation of a lot of what we do in customer care. Many call center leaders think that money is the answer, that we can simply issue a refund or throw some offers at a customer, and that seems to be the single line of defense, when in reality, customers just, I think, want to be acknowledged. They want to be understood and help us by asking questions. And if we can help them really get to a point where they can share some of the underlying issues with their problem, we can find that many times that it's not money that we have to do. We can just solve their problem simply and save those costly giveaways in the contact center organization. So I think it's about recognizing a customer's decision, their decision to choose us and to choose to do business with us. I think it's about recognizing their decision to ultimately leave if that's what they want. I don't know when it became wrong for a customer to say no thanks or to simply change their mind. But many times we fight our customers, and ultimately that upset then it kind of flares up, and we have to go down a path where we're giving away money. But if we had just recognized them and acknowledged their upset at the beginning and really asked the right questions, I think that we could avoid many of those costly giveaways.
How does your company go about deciphering what the customer really wants?
Again, a great question. I think it all boils down to really training your reps in a skill of how they interact with the customer and how they ask questions. Many times you call into a call center, and I think there's a lot of, while unintentionally, we ask the wrong questions that naturally put the customer on a defensive, put them in a position where they have to defend their decision to close an account or to return a product. When if we really could just empower the customer to ask them what led them to their decision, what caused their consideration about why they're calling in, we, I think, gain an opportunity at some level to really dig down to those underlying reasons again, those unfulfilled expectations perhaps. Obviously, at some point, this customer was excited about buying our product or service, and then somewhere along the way, something happened. And if we can just uncover that reason by asking about a decision, hopefully then we can tailor a solution that will fit their needs, and we can keep them as a happy customer moving forward.
You mentioned in your speech earlier that 86% of customers nowadays, once they have a bad experience with the company, they immediately go elsewhere. Do you see this number lowering at any time once social media has kind of lost its novelty factor? And if so, how?
I think that it's maybe a little bit too early to tell and to really answer that with any specificity. I think over time that yes, social media will lose some of its appeal. But I think that as customers become more internet savvy, it goes far beyond just social media. It becomes about feedback sites and blogs and what I put on my Facebook account. And there's other sites that are more consumer reports generated and talk about consumer activity and how businesses treated them as a customer. And I think those are here to stay. And I think as people just become more internet savvy and start doing more research about your organization, that we're going to see those numbers sustain. And while that one aspect might diminish over time, I think other components, other ways to research a company are just going to increase. And so, I think that while that number has increased quite a bit over the last few years, we're going to see that at a pretty healthy level, if not increase, as people become more internet savvy.
On the subject of managing feedback, you mentioned that an entire organization should be involved rather than just the customer care portion of that organization. How can a company best implement this?
I think there are several aspects to really gathering and putting data together into a form that is easily accessible across the entire management team. We need to use both qualitative and quantitative analysis to really look at a complete view of the customer. When you think of, we've got benchmark studies and customer sat reports and win-loss reports if it's a retention-based call center, and that only gives you a partial view of the customer's experience. But when you couple that with feedback from the front line, unstructured content perhaps from your CRM tool, and then are able to take that and package it in a way that is easily translates into the other departments of the organization, I think you can cross those organizational boundaries to really give exposure to customer care and how customers interact with your organization. I found that many times, for instance, there might be items on the technology side or marketing and product that on the surface you would never imagine that they would affect a customer in a negative or positive way, but ultimately do have an impact and ultimately drive calls into the call center. And if I think that exposure can just get across those organizational boundaries, and as us as customer advocates can drive that, others will start becoming an awareness. They'll have this aha moment that will say, wow, these decisions that I make, these initiatives I put in place really do impact the call center and really do impact the customer experience. So I think it's just a matter of awareness. I think it's a matter of us making sure that we're driving the right components and giving visibility to the right components to other key members of the organization.
Aaron, I want to thank you for joining us today. It was a pleasure, and I really enjoyed your speech.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity.